Hey everyone, it's Pete here, and I want to talk about a new agility and dynamic warm-up you are to do before each single workout. So the reason this is really important, it doesn't matter if you're injury-free or not, we want to keep you injury-free. We want to improve the mobility and the range of motion, especially through your hips and lower back. We find that's probably the tightest area, or one of the main one or two tightest areas for clients. So we want to improve hip mobility, ankle mobility, and some lower back and spine mobility as well. The big three we want to work on. Shoulder mobility is also important, but for this particular warm-up, to keep it simple, we're not going to cover. So, when do you do this? Every day before you work out, and on your off days, also do this as well. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes. What you need is a tennis ball, or ideally a lacrosse ball, or specific mobility ball, plus a foam roller. Okay, so there's a range of exercises we are going to go through and start them. You know, if you have current injuries, obviously adapt them. Otherwise, go for it. Work your way into these, and it's the consistent effort of these that really matters. Okay, so we're going to start. It's probably the most painful with the ball. You want to sit on the ball, and then so it's under my left glute. I'm going to put my left foot up on my right knee and literally just roll around. So what I'm searching for is the tight areas and the knots. And when I find them, I really focus on that particular area. So I find for me, it's the outer, upper edge of my glutes, okay, right at the top outside edge. But for you, just roll around both directions, find where those knots are, and then focus on that spot. Okay, so do both sides. The more this hurts, the more you need it. So if you can't hold that for 10 seconds, then you need it even more. Okay. When the tennis ball no longer hurts, you would probably progress to a harder, more firm ball, like a lacrosse ball or a hockey ball or a specific mobility ball, which you can get from physios and sports stores. So do both sides. You'll find one side is probably worse than the other. And just spend 30 seconds to 60 seconds each side. Okay. This one's great. If your glutes are tight, it's going to pull your hips slightly down, which puts extra pressure on the lower and mid spine. Our bodies are not designed to sit down all the time. It messes our posture up, messes our bodies up. So this little sucker is a really good toolkit in your arsenal. Okay. People often ask me, "Oh, I don't need to do that mobility stuff." A lot of guys tell me this. It's overrated. It's only going to be a matter of time before you injure yourself if you do not. So it's your call. My recommendation is do it every single day. Do it as a prehab thing, as in before injury, as opposed to a rehab thing, which is post-injury. Okay. Next one, foam roller. We're going to work your IT band, so the outside of your kneecap right up to your hip. This one's really simple. Again, we're finding where it hurts. So, front leg comes over, we're literally just rolling up to the outside of the knee and then down through to the hip, the top of the hip. Find the right angle where you feel that really working. Again, find where it's sore. I like to then flex and extend through the knee. You'll find that deepens the tissue release, and do what I call 10 passes. So up and down is one. So you do 10 and you perform it both sides. Next is for your inner groin. So we've rolled the outside of the hip, now we're going to do the inside. I find it works best on a 90-degree angle. I picked it up from Joe DeFranco, one of his videos says on, a 45-degree angle out that way. It's going to lay front on. It's a bit hard to see on video, but basically I'm going the exact opposite, from the inside high in my groin, right down to the end, okay? Same thing. Find where it hurts, spend extra time on that area, and you do both sides, minimum 10 up and downs, 10 return passes per side. Next one is called a groiner, a groin stretch. Basically on all fours in a push-up position, I want you to try and get your one foot up outside the same hand. So I'm thinking about dropping my hips, lifting my chest up to open up those hips. I hold it for a count of 2, so 1,000, 2,000, and then jump and change. Hold for a count of 2, 1,000, 2,000. If you can't jump with sore ankles, knees, whatever, then just walk them between. Drop the hips, lift the chest. Keep breathing through this, guys. You get warm pretty quick, but remember to keep breathing as you're going. Next one flows into also a deep groin stretch. So we're going to go side to side squat. So chest up, go from here, and then change. If you can't quite get to the floor, that's fine. Don't come quite as low, just modify it. But ideally, you see this foot's up. I extend all the weight here, stretch out this groin, and keep changing it over and over. I find one of the most frustrating long-term tissue injuries to have is a groin pull or a high groin pull. You want to avoid these at all costs. A lot of athletes at an elite level are out for months and months and months with a groin tear or a groin pull. This is something we want to try to avoid, okay? So a lot of hip mobility stuff here is going to help your squats, help your deadlifts, help your lunges, help your sprinting, help any jumping or plyometric stuff we're doing. Next one for your ankles. So just in a modified push-up position, bum up high, just one leg at a time, walk each heel back into the floor nice and hard. So feel that release through the calf, through the hamstring, and just keep alternating, 10 per side. Okay guys, next one's got a fire hydrant. So what we're going to do with these is make big circles with the hip. Really important you keep your hips square to the ground, okay? So you're going to bring one knee up and right around, okay? Do 10 circles clockwise, and then reverse it to go anti-clockwise. What you want not to do is really try to rotate the whole body to try and get extra distance. So you don't want to be twisting the whole lower back around just to try and get competitive and get extra distance. So imagine there's a glass of beer or scotch or wine on your lower back, which you do not want to spill, okay? So you want to keep it as still as possible. So hips are really square. Use a spotter for these or a mirror if you're unsure if you're tilting your hips, and it's simply up and around, okay, big circles. This should be hard at first. Again, the harder something is, probably the more you need it. So 10 clockwise, 10 anti-clockwise per leg. This looks like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant, hence the name. So just keep really square and strong, 10 each direction per side. Next one, you're gonna feel like a big kid. We're going to do some rollovers. So from here, you're going to roll back and try and get your feet to the floor, and you're going to come back up forwards into a touch. I'll show you what I mean. These are performed a little faster than the others. So we roll back, and then come up, and try and get chest to the floor. We're going to do 10 of those. So I'll do it a little bit quicker. I'll do 5 this way, then I'll go side on so you can see. And from side on, so right over, and right up, okay. So you do 10 of those or more. Next one for the lower back, cat camels. So on all fours, nothing moves except for our lower back here. We're going to drop the lower back, look straight ahead, and then lift up for the camel stretch. So we've gone two extremes. We're trying to create the upward curve on one face, followed by the downward curve. So it's the upward, and then into the downward, look straight ahead. So again, 10 each direction of those. Next one is a hip flexor stretch, and we're going to elevate the back leg. So back leg up. I'm pulling my hips up and then pushing forwards and holding each leg for 30 seconds. You'll feel this in your hip flexor and in your quad. I want you to hold each leg for 30 seconds, alternate, and do it 2 rounds. If you don't have a bench, you can just use your hand to pull it up, like so, with the other leg out in front. So that's the hip flexor stretch, 2 per leg, 30 seconds at a time. And then finally, finish off with 10 push-ups and 10 squats. So we've got some mobility work in there, we've got a little bit of strength work in there. The worst warm-up for strength training is jumping on the treadmill for 5 minutes, or jumping on the cross trainer for 3 minutes, or doing nothing for 3 minutes and just sitting there. So get here a little bit early, complete this exact circuit, bring your phone or your laptop or copy paste the text below this video so you can copy it and do it exercise for exercise for 5 to 10 minutes prior to your warm-up. It'll do 3 things. It'll warm you up, hence the name. It will prevent injuries by mobilizing your spine, loosen up your hips long-term and ankles long-term and lower back. Plus, a good warm-up, the goal is to excite the nervous system, as in to turn on your nervous system. That means when you lift your first weight, when you do your first push-up or squat or the set, whatever it is, your body's ready and your central nervous system, that's the brain to muscle connection, is excited and warm and ready to go. So I hope that helps keep you injury-free and train harder in the gym. Thanks so much.